All right, Jeff Jarrett on his podcast was asked, who is the best storyteller in pro wrestling? He named Bryan Danielson, saying, quote, I think he has a consistent, uncanny ability to tell different stories at different pacing. Is Bryan Danielson the best storyteller in pro wrestling?
He's the best in-ring storyteller, and maybe that's what, especially with the way that Jarrett answered that question about the different tempos and the different things. And Bryan has certainly been a part of some really good stories over the last decade. I mean, before the run by the Bloodline, the best story WWE probably told was him being the B-plus player, Bryan Danielson going up against the Authority, having it all be capped off a decade ago at WrestleMania 30. That was one of the best stories WWE had told until the Bloodline came along over the last 3 years. I loved him as was he the world champ or whatever he was calling himself? The eco champ. Yeah. When he got rid of the leather belts. Like, again, the little things that he does that just kind of hit differently. And his run in AEW has been a lot of fun too. But I think Bryan Danielson's the best in-ring storyteller. But there is a different man who is the best storyteller in pro wrestling. And to me, he's going into the Hall of Fame. It's Paul Heyman.
Yes. That to me, because there's two different ways to answer that, Brian. I think that what Gabe said, Paul Heyman, because he's a non-wrestler all these years and can be able to talk people in the building, whether he's aligned with Brock or whether he's aligned with CM Punk or others
or aligned with Cesaro. Oh, never
Cesaro. You know what? I mean, that was briefly, yes. Briefly.
He can't bat 1,000, all right?
Yeah, yes. Also, Curtis Axel. Whether it was Curtis Axel.
Oh, man. I forgot about Curtis Axel.
Father's Day Championship. I mean, how great is that? Father's Day Championship. He was the IC title holder for a minute, I think. But I think that's two ways to answer it. To me, it's Paul Heyman at the top, and then Cody Rhodes is right there as well. Look at how Cody just captures the audience. Takes his time. He's not yelling and screaming, and just like he's doing some of his best mic work that we've ever seen. He's telling a story. He's taking his time. He learns that from his dad, clearly, or being around old school wrestling. So, I mean, in ring, Danielson, absolutely. You could understand that. But as far as talking him in the building and then delivering in the ring, I think it's guys like Cody Rhodes.
So, but Cody's more recent, isn't it? Because I think back of some of the stories that he told in AEW and they just didn't hit, like when he ended racism, and he,
that didn't work.
Like he stumbled his way around AEW. And I think that's why his TV time was inconsistent. And it just, a lot of the stories he ended up telling there to me did not hit the way his current WWE storyline is hitting, and I think he's done a great job of that. Maybe he needed to go back to WWE to refine a lot of that storytelling that he's doing now. But I think of Cody after he leaves AEW, and he's doing the indie thing. You're not really telling a ton of stories on the indie scenes. Yeah, a little bit in ROH, certainly in New Japan when he was doing those things. But it was a craft that he needed to hone once he helped create AEW. And then he really, I think, kind of came into his own when he came back to AEW or to WWE.
Well, Gabe, I think the story for Cody on the Indies is I'm going to bet on myself. It's the same story that Cardona is telling, that Mustafa Ali is telling, that Nick Nemeth is telling now. It's just like, I'm leaving WWE. Come watch me in your hometown. Like, my story is that I'm betting on myself. I'm better than what you saw. And with Cody Rhodes in AEW, to me, it's like anything else. If you don't have a good story, and if you're not consistent with that story, it looks like it looked, to the point where fans were booing Cody Rhodes in AEW, wanting him to turn heel because the stories were just scattershot. They're all over the place.